foremost junior scullers, making her way down the course some length and a half up on Baker of Sheffield City in these early stages.
And you can see from that brilliant drone shot that we've got there, you've already got quite a commanding distance there. You've probably put that about length and a half, I suppose, at that point. And it just shows how important, I suppose, the start is at these kind of races as well. We've seen, like you said, we've seen a couple of crews go into the booms. If you get the perfect line, perfect 3 strokes or so to start you off, and it sets that platform off beautifully. And that's what we're seeing here for Isle of Ely's Phoebe Hayden. She comes up to our position. You can see us just there. We give a little wave actually to the drone.
Yeah, you can see our static commentary position there, the white structure on the left-hand side of your shot. That's where we're sat, just above the barrier, and the 2 scullers making their way down towards us now. We always get a good view of exactly how they sit as they pass us in parallel. The distance between them hasn't really changed all that much. Obviously, Baker got off to a slightly less impressive start, but has held on to the coattails of Phoebe Hayden, and is making sure that she is not out of the running too early on as they approach the barrier. There's about a length between those 2 scullers.
Yeah, she's just pulled it back there. So I think it's all about the length that she's putting in there. She's keeping nice and straight and getting those catches in, keeping the rate up as well. You can see Phoebe's keeping it lengthened out as well, but keeping it consistent, nice controlled. Maybe you would argue that they're looking a little bit more controlled out of the 2 scullers, but it's still early days yet, and you can see she's already actually maybe even a bit of an overlap starting to develop there. Just keeping in touch.
Yeah, well, when Phoebe Hayden came sculling past us, I could see the pain etched on her face already. So she's obviously a little bit disappointed that she hasn't managed to break the elastic that separates these 2 scullers. And at the moment, I would say the momentum is firmly with Baker in that yellow boat and red kit on the left-hand side of that wonderful drone shot that gives you a full view of the enclosures here at Henley Women's Regatta, and the 2 scullers fighting it out between those booms. And there we go, we can see a side-on shot of the 2 girls making their way down the course. And at the moment, I'd call that around 3/4 of length, but Baker from Sheffield City definitely still in the running here. She's been impressive in holding on to Hayden, who jumped out to an early lead just as they left the shadows of Temple Island. And this race very much all to play for as they come into the second half.
This is what I really like about this course, especially in the Regatta enclosure in particular. It's a really good point to witness races, especially tactically, because this is kind of the point where if you're in a position like this and you're the racer and you're chasing, this is normally the point where you might start thinking about making a move. So you'll suddenly see a burst or a change of pace from the chasing rower, and it's always interesting to see what the leader will do at that point. At this point, Baker keeping the rate high, keeping the catches going in as well, going nice. But Phoebe Hayden keeping that consistency, doing really well. But like you say, still paying extra on the face. Interesting final third of this race.
Yeah, the question now remains, how much has Phoebe Hayden got left in the legs and in the head? Because obviously this won't be the first race that these 2 girls have had. I think it's probably the 3rd or 4th already this weekend. So the lactic will be building and the fatigue will be growing with every single stroke that they take. What has Phoebe Hayden got left? Because she's been unable to shake off the close attentions of Baker from Sheffield City. What a fantastic opening race we've got here. Very little to use between these 2 scullers as they make their way down into the final few strokes of this first heat or first semi-final of the junior single sculls. Remember, this is for a place in the semi-final later. I do apologise, this is a quarterfinal. So this is for a place in the semi-finals. These girls have actually got, if they want to make the final, at least 2 more races left to do today. And Phoebe Hayden there winding the rate up on the left-hand side of your shot. You can see she's really going for it now. She wants to make sure she secures a place in the final 4. So we'll keep one eye on race 301, 302 underway, and having left the state beds, Buchanan of Glasgow Academy on the Berkshire station closest to your picture on the bottom left, and Colemeyer of Westminster School on the Buckinghamshire station. 2 scullers I saw yesterday who both looked very efficient and very proficient in their sculling ability. So it'd be interesting to see how they come up against each other. But just one eye on what's happening on the top right-hand side there, Warren. Both scullers chasing and driving for the line.
They really are. I mean, we've just seen the rates, probably about 36 for Hayden and 37 for Baker. And they're really ramping it up now. What a finish this is going to be as we come in to the last few stages. Phoebe Hayden, she took part, leading all the way, but she's been pushed all the way as well by Baker. As they come across the finish line, I think, oh my goodness, half a length in it. Real psychological battle as well as a physical one there for Hayden to come through
Yeah.
under pressure all the way from Baker, but a great race there from Hayden.
Yeah, brilliant sprint from Phoebe Hayden to see off the close attentions of Baker of Sheffield City. And what a great race to open our account for the day. Race 301, that looked like a win for Phoebe Hayden in the junior single sculls. Race 302 underway, and the full front of your picture now. You can see there Buchanan of Glasgow Academy on the left-hand side, and in the distinctive pink kit of Westminster School, Colemire on the Buckinghamshire station. At the moment, it's Buchanan who's had the better of the two starts. She leads by around 3/4 of a length as they approach the quarter-mile mark.
That's a great start there from Glasgow Academy's Buchanan. Of course, beats Twickenham's Wilson yesterday, 3 late 6 minutes 31. One of these sort of around the mid times that we saw yesterday in the heats. She's showing it again here. As I said before, it's all about the start and the middle and the finish, I suppose you could argue in rowing, but she's looking very strong as they come past our position here. We'll have a look, see what the positions are. Glasgow Academy, Buchanan nearest to us, and Westminster in the great pink over there. Colemire leading by about a half a length, probably a length and 3/4 as they come past us. You can see on her face she's looking nice and relaxed, finding the length, finding the catch, finding the finish as they go past us up to the barn bar in this first third. Looking nice and strong so far.
Yeah, slightly shorter and sharper on the catch from Colemire of Westminster School. Looks a little bit more flustered in what is very still water this morning at Henley Women's Regatta. Slightly more fluid style from Buchanan of Glasgow Academy, and that's paying dividends for her at the moment because she is stretching out her lead with every stroke. She's managed to now break clear of Colemire, and she did what Phoebe Hayden was unable to do in the last heat and actually get some clear water ahead of her opponent, and that will help her psychologically as she makes her way down the course, and also damage the efforts of Colemire from Westminster, who can now no longer see or hear her opponent sculling away from her, so that makes it doubly difficult to mount a challenge.
Especially on a course like this, where of course the distance is a bit shorter than your sort of 2 kilometre courses that are normally raced on regatta season. Those of you watching rowing for the first time, perhaps, normally in regatta season you get a lot of it on multi-lane courses where your distance is 2 kilometres. You get town regattas where distance may be shorter than that, probably 1 kilometre. It's about 1.6 as far as I remember on this course, and it's just next to each other. It is 1 against 1. It's knockout. There's no second chances at this one. No repêchages. No B finals, A finals. You've got to win, or that's it. You're out. And it's at this point, especially if you can't see the opponent next to you, it's a huge psychological disadvantage, and it takes a lot to. I used the word minor miracle a couple of times yesterday, but that's what it takes at this point. As we have a look, they've got another race starting up at the top.
Yeah, race 303. We'll keep one eye on race 302, although it looks like Buchanan of Glasgow has that one in hand. 303. Our third quarter-final of the junior single sculls. Thames Halsey on the Berkshire station and Furness of Camas Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. And it looked like the latter sculler had the better of the two starts. You can just see there the blades on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. And the white blade of the Camas sculler is going in before the black blade of the Thames Rowing Club athlete. And you can just see as the two crews or two athletes leave the shadows of Temple Island, it is Furness of Camas who has made the better of the two starts.
Yeah, she certainly has. Took it up to about 38 coming into the out of the island. She's really striding away here, Furness, Camas sculler. Doing it what she did yesterday. Time 6:24 actually yesterday on this course, which is looking strong there, coming up against Halsey, who of course has a lot of pedigree coming into this one, further to British Junior Championships 16 and a 6-foot national school regatta in the B final for J17 at that level. So no year yet. We'll see from Halsey, but it is the Camas sculler Furness who's taken this race by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, good sculling this from Furness so far this morning. Enjoying her row down the course and certainly infecting a margin of control on this race. She's got a couple of lengths now and a length of clear water over her opponent Halsey, who finished, I think it was 6th in the B final of Championship Girls Singles at the National Schools Regatta. So a capable sculler in her own right, but looks like she's met her match in the form of Furness of Camas. You can just see there on the top right hand side of your shot the conclusion of race 302. Buchanan of Glasgow has led that one from stroke number 1 to stroke number end, and she is going to cross the line first. A little look over her shoulder, enjoying her row down the course, a couple of lengths clear of Colemeyer and securing her passage through to the semi-finals. But at the moment, we're watching Furness there on the bottom left, just leading Halsey of Thames by around a couple of lengths.
Yeah, you could see her on the screen there. You saw Canvas's Furness just looking across at the Thames sculler Halsey, knowing she was there, knowing that she could just push away if she needs to, keeping the rates nice and consistent. She's coming out to the middle of the course there, may have to check that, but she does have clear water, so she can change her position if she wants to. On about a rate of 32, Canvas's Furness, but she is being chased by Halsey, who's trying to close the gap at rate 33, but it's still staying at 2 lengths. Very difficult at that point when you know you're going at that length, going at that rate, but still trying to catch up. It's always difficult, even at this point in the race.
Yeah, interesting there from the sculler from Camma. She came right across in her lane and sort of chose to scull down the middle of the course, which is a dangerous tactic to take, especially when you're only a couple of lengths up. I'm not sure if the umpire will have seen fit to get involved there, because she was washing down her opponent from Thames and making it all the more difficult for Halsey to mount a comeback. But at the moment, you can see there pain etched on her face. It does look like quite a difficult process to make your way down the course in a single scull. But perfect conditions, no wind, no prevailing sort of weather direction at the moment, flat water, and it's calm here at Henley Women's Regatta on the Sunday. And Furness of Camas just enjoying her scull down the course. Delighted to now also be joined by Sheila Ford, who is 15 minutes late, but we won't mention that.
I obviously got the wrong memo because I thought I was supposed to be here. No, I thought I was early, but there we go.
You just say you were drinking last night.
You were okay, yeah, the head. But you two seem to be doing such a good job. I didn't feel the urge to rush.
Trying our best.
No, we did.
Well, as we watch Furness of Camas make her way down the course in control of her third quarter final of the Junior Single Sculls, race 303, I can tell you that race 304 has begun, and that is a contest between Warrington Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station and Twickenham Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire Station. Now, I saw both of these scullers out yesterday, and I have to say Ella Stanhope of Warrington Rowing Club was one sculler that I want to keep an eye on, because she is one of the shining hopefuls for the next generation of great British talent. She's already competed at the Munich International Regatta this year and has accumulated a number of shiny bits of metal throughout her regatta career. And at the moment, she's looking like a pretty impressive bet for the Junior Single Sculls at the Henley Women's as well. She's got a couple of lengths already on Twickenham.
Yeah, what a great start that is from the Warrington sculler. Third National Schools Regatta, J17, showing that prowess here early on, keeping the rate nice and long and strong, pushing away with every stroke from Twickenham's Overcowo. Good course down at Twickenham, I can say from personal experience, from being a member there. It's great, good long distance there. They've got a great junior programme there for the GB starts, and they do have some talents coming in. A bit of a change of direction there from the Twickenham sculler, but already looking at about 2 or 3.5 lengths even perhaps, as they come up to our Coventry position.
Just coming past our location at the barrier, I can see Ella Stanhope with a grimace on her face, but she'll be enjoying in her head the sight before her, because she has a couple of lengths of clear water over her opponent from Twickenham. This, of course, being race 304, the final quarter-final of the Junior Single Sculls, and our fourth race of the day here at Henley Women's. It is the Sunday, and it is slightly overcast but warm and clear, and we're enjoying a full roster of racing right through to about 4:30 this afternoon with the finals.
Yeah, so after this race, we've got the junior Coxless fours starting. We've got a couple of quads, beg your pardon, starting with the quarterfinals for that coming through with some local clubs. Marlow, I think, are in that particular group of clubs coming through, and Henley as well. So, and also some good names that we saw yesterday with Tideway Scullers. Still got a great presence at this regatta, as well as Latimer as well. So we expect some good performances today. It's going to be an exciting day of racing.
Yeah, very much looking forward to the junior quads. Actually, of course, we've got Henley, who are current national champions in the quad, but Gloucester Hartbury, who pushed them very, very hard at the national schools. And then, as you said, see the likes of Latimer, who consistently put out good performances, Tideway Scullers, and then Marlow, who I think you're some way affiliated with Marlow, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I've got my Marlow blazer here, wearing it with pride. But we're completely neutral here in the commentary box.
Yeah, no partisanship at all. But that will be race 305, Marlow in action against Lee. That's the next one that will appear on your screens. And I think they're on the state boats now. But at the moment, it's all about Ella Stanhope enjoying her scull down the course here. Really, really impressive sculler. You can see there the pronunciation on the back end of the stroke. Just moving the boat on. And following in the footsteps of Lucy Glover, who, of course, was one of Warrington's diamonds in their crown. A very impressive sculler herself. And she's now firmly ingrained in the GB senior setup. And hopefully Stanhope here will be looking to repeat those feats. I think Glover actually was a winner at Henley Women's Regatta some years ago. And it would be a brave man to bet against Stanhope repeating that feat. You can see her just enjoying her scull down the course, moving down. Nice low rate, just making sure she conserves some energy for the races that are to come. Little look over her shoulder, moving down towards the finish. Just waiting on the state boats now for 3:05 to get underway. That's Marlow Rowing Club A on the Berkshire station and Lee Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station in our first quarter-final of the Junior Coxless Quads. Race at 3:05. Marlow, of course, finalists in the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup last year, although this is a all-changed crew, I believe, who have come through their Junior 16 and 17 ranks to be here today. And Lee, of course, who saw off the attentions of, I think it might have been a Composite yesterday. I think they might have had to race twice for some reason to do with perhaps steering or something the umpire wasn't happy with. But Lee here, you can see there in the orange kit and yellow boat, up against Marlow as the flag comes down and the crews move off the state boats.
And they're off.
Sharp starts from both crews, no early dramas. Of course, the footplate in this boat is controlled and mechanised by an athlete, so it's not a cox on board. There's nobody there to do the steering for them, which is why we sometimes see some interesting lines down the course. But Marlow looking like the more fluid of the two crews in the opening exchanges.
They are, and it's very difficult these first couple of strokes as the crews try and get the boat going, and also a little bit distracting if you're on the buck station going under the trees. You always feel like you're very close to Temple Island, and at this point, having just come past the island, the course seems to open up a little bit for the rowers, and this is where we've seen several crews go off their line and get a little bit distracted by all this water that they've got to play in. So they've got to focus all the way down the course here.
Yeah, approaching the quarter mile. Marlow looking really fluid actually. Really good start from them. They're already a length up on Lee, who will be perhaps a little surprised to find themselves so far down at such an early stage. And you can see there Lee just having a few issues with their line. Getting worryingly close to the quarter mile marker there, just correcting perhaps just in time to avoid any early stage clashes. But that will play into Marlow's hands here. Every single time you touch that rudder, it is like a brake on the boat, and Marlow just striding out perfectly on their station and enjoying their scull now as they come up towards us in the little white structure you can see there on the left hand side of your picture.
It's interesting, isn't it, when you say that, especially, it's almost like a butterfly effect, if you like, when you make that. One little millimetre of turning in over the course of 10 strokes can cost you metres in the end, and it's only doing that here at the moment. It's probably stretching out to about, length of 3/4, coming up to about 2 lengths here that Lee are down. But it's been such a strong start from the Marlow crew, just jumping off the start. And it's really caught this Lee crew by surprise. 6 foot National Schools Regatta, competing in Great Britain v France match. and lots of experience there in the bows as well in junior 16 level. But it's this Marlow crew who are taking it by the horns.
I just think it's remarkable that these are junior crews. I remember a few years ago watching some of the championship quads at this event, and they look like these junior crews do now. The step on has been just absolutely incredible from all of these junior athletes, and every year they get better and better and better, which is why Great Britain are winning so much at junior level and dominating at Henley Royal and Henley Women's. In fact, I think it's an all GB affair in the junior quads this year, so any international competition has already been knocked out. And I'm sure these crews will have one eye on the Diamond Jubilee at Henley Royal, because that currently lies with Y Quad City in the USA. They were the first overseas winner of that competition, and I'm sure the leading GB crews will be keen to bring that trophy home.
How does it work?
So we can see there Marlow just enjoying their scull ahead of Lee, a couple of lengths up, and they've led right from the off here. An impressive Marlow unit. So we can move back to the start for race 306. Gloucester Hartbury on the Berkshire station, Headington School on the Buckinghamshire station. Two crews who will know each other very well, and two schools that are probably two of the leading names on the junior women's circuit. And Headington, under the stewardship of Ryan Domain, having the better of the two starts so far.
Well, they're already lengthening out really well. Strike rate 35 there from the Headington girls. They are under pressure though from Gloucester Hartbury, of course. As we said, Diamond Jubilee won 3 of the last 4 of them. Absolutely dominant in that category. But they are down at the minute after their starts. Down that, keeping the strike rate high though. Going out for the Ribbon. About 33, matching Headington for the Ribbon, but yeah, Headington being forced out because they know that they haven't quite got the clear water on Gloucester Hartbury. Shows good composure to come back there.
Yeah, and the umpire's had his flag up several times already as the crews are both getting to grips with steering issues as they come past the end of the island. Sometimes a little bit of gust of wind there that blows a crew off course, and if you're not ready to adjust immediately, then you either end up going straight into the boom, the barrier, or into the crew next to you. So complete focus.
Not even clear water there, about 3/4 of a length. A great catch up there from Gloucester Hartbury after that start. Really, really composed and strong from the Gloucester Hartbury girls, and keeping the pressure up on Headington. Also, the two crews not too far apart yesterday in terms of times. Gloucester Hartbury 5:15 yesterday, Headington 5:18. They was won by 2.5 lengths compared to Gloucester Hartbury's 3. But here's the Headington crew. Are coming out again though. Coming together a bit tight. We'll see how this one pans out as they come towards the regatta enclosure.
Yeah, the umpire's got his eyes on them, keeping a very close watch with the odd shout of warning towards both crews. And we can see now that Gloucester Hartbury are really hugging the boom side. I don't know if that's because they feel like they haven't got the space to move out, or it's just general steering issues that these crews seem to face coming down the course. I was listening to some crews talking in the car park yesterday, looking down, and they were saying, gosh, it looks really narrow between the booms. So it can be quite intimidating for crews that are used to, having quite an open space of river or lake to row on, and then they come to Henley and it can feel quite boxed in for some of them. So it's understandable that the crews get a little bit intimidated and tense up a little bit with their steering.
Well, Gloucester Hartbury will feel like they've got some vengeance to seek in this category. They led the final of the Championship Girls Quads at the National Schools until about 10 strokes to go, where a boat-stopping crab, relegated them to 4th place, allowing Henley to come through and take the coveted gold medal. So I'm sure they'll have quite a lot to motivate them as they come down the course, but at the moment, being led by a pretty impressive Headington unit, who themselves have had, by their own very high standards, a relatively, average season in terms of the silverware that they've managed to take home. So they'll be extremely keen to make sure that they can enact their best performance on the Henley course.
Yeah, it was a third at National Schools Regatta for that Headington crew, but of course, but on account of that crowd from Gloucester Hartbury. But this is an interesting point in the race. You've got an overlap here for Gloucester Hartbury. They know they can hear, they can see the stern end of the Headington. Probably the bow person can see the stern end. This is where it all becomes about mentality. Who's got it stronger, not just in the body but also in the mind. As we also see the next race start between Tideway Scullers School and Surbiton High School, race 3:07. Blinded start there from the Tideway girls, ramping the rate right up, keeping the pressure on from Surbiton. As we come back, nice composed from Headington at the moment. I'm into the last stages of that race 3:06.
Yeah, we'll keep one eye on what's happening above 3:06. Gloucester Hartbury and Headington battling it out for a place in the semi-finals. 3:07, as you rightly pointed out, Warren is underway. Scullers on the Berkshire station, Surbiton High School on the Buckinghamshire station. We can just see there on the top right hand side of your screen. Headington knocking out Gloucester Hartbury, which is a bit of a shock, I think, to those who had studied the form book prior to this event. Headington will be delighted to secure passage through to the semi-finals. Really mature race from those girls, having had the close of attentions of Gloucester all the way through. But there we can see in full shot Surbiton leading Scullers out of the blocks by about half a length in the opening stages of race 3:07.
Well, I've checked the straight rate machine twice here, and I'm seeing rates here of 39 from Surbiton, 37 from Tideway Scullers School. These crews aren't giving each other an inch, even after we've gone through Temple Island. What an astonishing start from these two crews. But it's Surbiton that are just edging ahead of Tideway Scullers School on the Berkshire side, which for people watching is on the right, and for the Surbiton girls leading. Well, now it's on your right on the drone footage, but they have just lengthened out now. Pushing away, coming out to about 3/4, maybe even coming out to a length as they come past us. In the commentary, you can see the bow woman there, just putting every bit of strength on the oars as they come past us, trying to get that lead out, trying to assert their position. But Tideway Scullers not giving him anything, keeping that 3/4, keeping the rate high, keeping the intensity high as well at these early stages of Sunday at Henley Women's Regatta 2019.
They're not giving each other much breathing room at all. Rates exceptionally high. Surbiton just look like they're maybe struggling to maintain that margin of comfort over Tideway Scullers School, who themselves will be fierce racers who train, of course, on that Tideway stretch from Chiswick down to Putney, or Putney to Chiswick if you're studying it from a boat race perspective. And it looks like with every stroke that Tideway Scullers School take, they're just eating into that margin that Surbiton had established. It's a war of attrition, as is so often the case in these bigger boats. Every stroke you just need to make sure you've got your head in your crew and in your shell, and that you're not perturbed by what's going on around you. And at the moment, a really finely balanced race.
Absolutely, this is what we want to see at these races. You can hear the crowds already committed early in the morning, but getting right behind these girls as they come through, and you can see Tideway Scullers already just coming up to even half a length as they come past us. We'll get another shot, hopefully, as we come further halfway at the regatta enclosure. But you can see I think it's the two girl in Tideway Scullers just urging the girls on, keeping the rate high, still probably only about 35s at the moment between the two crews. Surbiton maybe just a little bit shorter perhaps on their stroke compared to Tideway Scullers, but they are keeping themselves ahead as they go past all the crowds at the regatta enclosure. And they're keeping well with it. Well, you can see the bows there just sneaking in from Tideway Scullers. My goodness, this is going to be close. Can they get the push in to get past them? As they go past the regatta enclosure towards Upper Thames, they're going to come past us on a horizontal. They might even have just taken that.
Yeah, I think Scullers, the momentum's definitely with them now. They've timed this race really, really well, looking at the way they've rowed. They've allowed Surbiton to just stretch out, but never lost contact with them as they came down past us at the barrier. But just there, I think you were right in calling that, Warren. There was a little push, a little shout from one of the girls in the Scullers boat. And now you go, ooh, bit of an issue there with squaring of the blade. That won't help. But it looks like they have mounted a charge that so far has been successful. And as this race nears its conclusion, I wouldn't want to call it.
Absolutely. It shows some real character from these Tideway school Scullers as well. I mean, the race yesterday against Latimer Upper B, who are of course on the Tideway as well. Only about 1.5 lengths they beat them by. When you look at some of the other crews winning by about 3 lengths, 2.5 lengths, it shows a lot of character to come into this race the next day and row through a crew, which are, well, if they're still there in the next few strokes, But we'll see how they do as the next race gets started.
Yeah, we'll keep one eye on that. Race 307, still very much developing. But now Henley Rowing Club on the course, home favourites of course, who row on this stretch of water every single day. They're in race 308, our final quarter-final of the junior quads, up against Latimer Upper School A on the Buckinghamshire station in the yellow boat and white and blue kit. Hold on. So you can see there on your screen, Henley and Latimer making their way down the course. It's foolish to bet against Henley, of course national champions in the Championship Girls Quad and actually holders of this event at the Henley Women's Regatta, but being pushed very hard by Latimer, who I think will be delighted with their start as they come past the quarter mile.
They've done really well here. Henley got off to a blinding start, but Latimer staying right with them all the way. Henley, of course, first at National Schools Regatta, first wins as well at Met, Wallingford, Scullery as well. It's just, this is a great group of girls, won J16s last year as well. So really good crew, keeping together. We've got such a brilliant programme here at Henley. Keeps these crews, I think that's what it is, they keep them all together, keep them through over a long period of time as well, so they get good connections building. And they're showing that here, just keeping that length, a bit of wash coming through on the course here as they come past our commentary position, but Latimer staying with them. They know that they have to do that, as they saw Tideway scullers do. You can see what can happen on this course. We saw Tideway scullers earlier actually just going through, rode by maybe about a length or so over Surbiton. Great road from them. But right now Henley leading this on their home water.
Yeah, just see Coach Leon Redman pushing his girls on. I imagine there will have been a planned push there coming past the barrier. They've just stretched out a tiny bit and now have around half a length, stretching 2/3 if I'm being generous, as they make their way down the course. It's all about timing the pushes on the Henley Women's Regatta course, because it's not the traditional 2 kilometre distance. You have a little bit of a shorter run to go at, and so when you are there and when you are next to a crew, you need to make sure that you're not outgunning them too late or too early, and that you've got the necessary legs to carry it across the line. But I think Henley, mature racers that they are, and as you say, Warren, people who know each other very, very well, having trained right up from J14 through to where they are now, they'll be well aware of each other's physical and technical capacity and looking like they are in control as they move down towards the enclosures.
Absolutely. Rowing's a sport. It's all about unity as well. Whether you've got 1 or 2 or 4 or 8 people in a crew, it's all about everybody doing the same thing at a time. I think that shot showed that absolutely perfectly there. All 4 girls working in unison, coming forward, finding the catch, finding the finish together. That's why they've got that little, it's all those little differences that can make those metres in rowing. You can see the Latimer girls on that far side, maybe just a little bit quick at the catches, maybe losing a little bit of distance on their stroke there, but I think both crews, I think it's Henley at 35, Latimer at 34, but you can see out of the 2, it's the Henley crew that are probably the more composed, you'd say.
Yeah, enjoying their scull. I think they've pretty much timed this to perfection. You don't want to inflict the commentator's curse on them, but little chance of that happening here for Henley Rowing Club, who know this course better than anybody. Even the dog's excited about this one.
Lively crowd this morning.
Yeah, national champions, and you can see why. Lots of horsepower on that boat, and they scull really, really well, which is no surprise. Henley girls always drilled exceptionally well, conditioned well, and expected to perform at the highest level, and these girls representing their club very professionally and successfully here, just sculling down the course ahead of Latimer Upper School in our 4th quarter-final of the junior quads. So we can see here race 308 nearing its conclusion. Henley in complete control of this one now, sculling down towards the line. And if you look towards the bottom left-hand side of your screen, 309 on the stake boats, and just leaving the stake boats as it goes to William Perkins School on the Berkshire Station and Cheltenham Ladies College A on the Buckinghamshire Station. Two crews who will know each other well from the National Schools Regatta. They'll be aware of each other's race plans and aware of each other's abilities. So it'll be interesting to see how this first quarter-final of the junior doubles develops. There we go, the drone shots, giving us a full view of Temple Island and a full view of both crews' steering lines, which at the moment leaves a little bit to be desired on the part of Sir William Perkins, who were a little close to the boys, just coming back into the middle of the river. Perhaps need to recorrect to ensure that they don't steer into their opponents.
Yeah, and as Warren was saying earlier, just a tiny little correction can have quite a big impact on where the boat goes. So these girls need to not tense up, not over correct themselves, or else they end up going not where they want to go. William Perkins School A look like they've got the better of this race so far. Still early days and quite a bit of overlap between William Perkins and Cheltenham Ladies A here. So both crews are trying to stay relaxed and composed. If they've got a race strategy, trying to execute their race strategy and not get rattled by the opposition or anything else that's going on the water.
Well, at the moment, Sheila, this one's not going according to the form book. Sir William Perkins was 6th at the National Schools and Cheltenham 5th. And there was around nearly 10 seconds separating them in the final of the Championship Girls Double at Dorney Lake a few weeks ago. But at the moment, Sir William Perkins having a really, really good run down in their quarter-final. They've got around a length on Cheltenham as they come past us.
Yes, and William Perkins, stroke rate about 30 at the moment, so they're keeping up the pressure on Cheltenham Ladies College. Both crews looking very composed. I'd say Cheltenham Ladies look quite relaxed actually, so maybe they've got a surprise in the bag, they're saving it. But as you said earlier, this course, you've got to really gauge very, very finely where you start putting your sprint in. Don't leave it too late. The race is over before you can actually get ahead of the other crew.
Yeah, it's a finely judged thing, rowing. And actually these crews, junior crews, slightly perhaps less mature than some of the aspirational and championship outfits that we see take to the course throughout this weekend, and sometimes it just comes down to just that bit more willpower to just pull on. But at the moment, Perkins stretching out, and actually they seem to have put on a push and just increase their margin of lead.
Yeah, Cheltenham Ladies College going over right towards the booms there. Slight correction on their course. Just a little lapse of concentration maybe. We can see William Perkins moving a little bit further into the middle of the course, so they'll be catching more of the stream, which won't necessarily help them. They'll be pushing against more water as they try and keep their lead there.
So watching William Perkins make their way down the course, we can probably give you a few results from the quads, of course keeping one eye on what does happen in race 309. But the last few races have been quarterfinals of quads. Race 305 was a win for Marlow by a length and a half over Lee. Headington School defeating Gloucester Hartbury in race 306 by a length. Tideway Scullers School beat Surbiton High School by 3/4 length after rowing them down past the enclosures. And Henley Rowing Club knocked out Latimer Upper School by a length and a quarter in race 308. And on your screens now, 309 Sir William Perkins School currently enjoying a margin of control over their rivals from Cheltenham Ladies College.
And we can see the bow girl there just keeping up the motivation, shouting instructions to her crew member. There's usually one more vocal member of the crew that will take on that role, as well as trying to row their own race. It looks like it's the bow girl steering and shouting and rowing.
Multi-talented. Well, it'd be interesting to see whether Cheltenham can mount a late charge. Of course, different crews prioritise different events, and it looks like Sir William Perkins have chosen to prioritise the Henley Women's Regatta ahead of the National Sculls. The event's separated by, I think, 3 weeks, so plenty of time to drop back down into a period of winter training, then taper up for this event. And William Perkins look to have got their training regime correct, because they continue to lead Cheltenham Ladies College as they make their way down towards the line. The next race actually is also underway, as you can see on the bottom left of your screen. Race 310, Wycliffe College on the Berkshire Station and Nottinghamshire Counties Rowing Association in that distinctive luminous green kit on the Buckinghamshire Station. These girls silver medalists at the National Schools Regatta and perhaps favourites for this event, considering that the gold medalists aren't actually competing. And that bared out there by the drone shots, highlighting that Nottingham have had a storming start and already lead by nearly a length.
They have a very quick start from them. They can see them settling down now. Stroke rate just gone down a little bit, but still very efficient stroking. But you can see the overlap there with Wycliffe College trying to stay in contact with Notts County.
Yeah, working hard, but not making things easy for themselves, steering right over into the middle of the river.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if the umpire's flag went up at some point. He'd be shouting at them to move over. Boxing Notts County in against the booms, not a good idea, and not, as you say, not helping them get the speed of their boat up.
They just look to be a little bit more dynamic around each end, the Nottingham girls. Slightly more considered around the front end and a bit more pronunciation on the backstops of the stroke, and it seems to be working for them at the moment. More of a lively rhythm, just pushing it on. And they continue to lead as they come past us, just straining to get some clear water on their opponents. That can be decisive in a Henley Women's Regatta match race. At the moment, working hard. They probably have around half a length of clear water.
Yeah, this side-by-side racing can feel quite gladiatorial once you're in it. You've got your opponent at quite close quarters to you. You can hear them, you can hear their shouts, you can hear their strokes, and it can be quite intimidating if you're not really focused on racing your race strategy and what's going on in your boat. So that mental strength really needs to be there, as well as the fitness, the endurance, and the technique that you've got for your own crew. Yeah. At the moment, Notts County actually extending their lead over Wycliffe College, looking very comfortable and in control of this race at the moment. I can't see them letting that control go. Wycliffe look like they're finding it increasingly difficult to make a comeback here.
Yeah, definitely drawing out, lengthening out the stroke. Still keeping the rate pretty high. We'll keep an eye on what Nottinghamshire Counties Rowing Association are doing in their race. But race 311 is underway, an all United States of America affair. South Jersey on the Berkshire Station and Miami International Row House on the Buckinghamshire Station. So visitors from the south, the east and west coasts of the United States. South Jersey on the right hand side of your shot there, and Miami on the left, and both crews pretty well matched out of Temple Island. It'd be interesting to see how they steer. Of course, not used to this course and the subtle changes that seem to take place as you come out of Temple Island. At the moment, South Jersey having the better of the two starts. Really short, stabby sort of strokes there from the South Jersey crew. Not really lengthening out yet. I'm not sure if that's a deliberate tactic as they approach the quarter mile. They're well over 20, 30 strokes into the race now, so you'd expect a bit of length, a bit more dynamism, but at the moment, still just chonking it along at quite a high rate.
And South Jersey is stroking at 40 at the moment, so quite a high rate, and Miami International at 41. So we, as you say, we expect that high stroke rate right at the start as they get the boat going, and then we expect them to settle down into their race pace. It does look like they are doing that now.
You're just trying to find your rhythm. It's something that's almost intangible in rowing as you come out of Temple Island or sort of any opening 200 metres of a rowing race, just to find that stride that our coaches used to call it, that ability to be a bit more dynamic, a bit more loose, and maintain the speed of the shell, but just drop the rate a couple of pips. And at the moment, this appears to be working for South Jersey. They're continuing to lengthen out. They've got nearly, well over 2 lengths actually, on their opponents from Miami International Rowhouse. And what a great thing to see. 2 US crews in the quarterfinals at Henley Women's Regatta, matching it up, both from the United States of America.
And the umpire's flag is up, I think, for South Jersey, who are moving too far across into the lane of Miami International Rowhouse. They've been warned. They're just correcting themselves and moving back over, but still fairly central in the course there. Miami International not got any steering issues there. They're keeping a straight course, but not managing to pull back into contention with South Jersey at the moment. I suspect that it might be a little bit too late for them to make up that much ground in this race. South Jersey looking very comfortable. You can see relaxed shoulders there, just enjoying the scull down the river. It's a beautiful morning here in Henley on Thames, and these young ladies will be relishing the experience of rowing in one of the premier venues in the world for rowing.
Yeah, I had to say, when I saw South Jersey in their opening sort of salvo, I thought perhaps they'd gone out a little too hard, but actually it appears to be just the way they row, and it's working for them. They're moving the boat along really nicely actually now, and they've just continued to move away from their opponents from Miami, and now in no danger really of being overhauled as they move down towards the line in this, the third quarter-final of the junior doubles, race 3-1-1. One more to go, race 3-2-3-1-2 between St George's and Maidenhead in a few minutes' time. But this is all about the girls from South Jersey, from the United States of America, continuing to propel their shell forward, and in, as I say, no danger of being overtaken here.
So I'm interested that this is one of the few crews that I've seen that have decided to wear long sleeves. So do you think they're feeling the chill over here in Henley?
It's probably quite cold for them.
But looking very relaxed as they go into the final stages of their race. South Jersey, USA, just enjoying as they're going past the enclosures towards the finish line there. Stroking at 31 or 30 at South Jersey. So keeping it nice and steady. That's going to be well within their capabilities, but maintaining their lead. Miami International upping their stroke rate to 39, but maybe their stroking is not as efficient as South Jersey. They don't seem to be making up any ground, although it's difficult to tell from the angle that we've got on the screen in front of us. South Jersey certainly don't seem rattled at all by the performance of Miami International.
Yes, they can enjoy their scull down the course now. South Jersey, they've earned the right to represent their club in the semi-finals of the junior double sculls, just crossing the line there, several lengths clear of Miami International. So we can move back to the start for race 3-1-2, St George's College on the Berkshire station, and a crew from Maidenhead Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Both crews ready to go, blades square and buried, waiting for the umpire to drop his flag. And as if by magic, he does that, and the crews leave the stake boats. Let's see if they can get away nice and clean. Of course, the St George's crew there on the left of your drone shot screen. Bronze medalists at the National Schools Regatta, so I'm sure they'll have had one eye on the performance of Nottinghamshire Counties Rowing Association earlier, who of course beat them at the National Schools. But a good start from both of these crews. Maidenhead more than pulling their weight here, perhaps even slightly leading as they leave behind the hulking mass that is Temple Island. very little to choose between them.
There is, and I saw the crews glancing across at each other in the start. So obviously feeling very competitive this morning. You'd expect the crews to have their eyes in the boat, particularly at the start when it's absolutely vital that the crew is synchronised and executing their racing start, but not much in it at all as they emerge from the shelter of Temple Island. Both crews looking at a little bit more space on the water now. It does look like Maidenhead are staying over towards the booms, but not much in it at all. St George's College slightly ahead, maybe not even a quarter of a boat length at this point. So Maidenhead still very much in contention in this race. St George's keeping up a stroke rate of 32 at the moment, and Maidenhead slightly higher at 34. Looking like they're falling behind slowly from St George's College. They're just approaching the commentary box now. You can see us there on the left of your picture. But St George's College slowly establishing a lead here. They are just establishing some clear water between themselves and Maidenhead Rowing Club as they go past us. Maidenhead still pushing hard to stay in contention. Anything could happen.
Yeah, no, big push that from St George's, I think. You could see there that the coach was cheering them on, moving them on up the course. I think they're actually starting to stride out now.
Yeah.
And I expect St George's to just try and walk away here from Maidenhead, who will have ruffled their feathers early on by staying so close and so personal with them. Of course, Maidenhead with not an awful lot of form or, I suppose, book to go with in this event, having not really competed too much at this level. St George's, of course, bronze medalist at the National Schools, so they'll be expecting to at least secure a semi-final berth. At Maidenhead, not letting them have it all their own way, but I think St George's now just stretching out and just trying to break the elastic that separates those two crews.
Yeah, good performance from Maidenhead. A little bit of zigzagging down the course that we could see from that aerial shot a moment ago. I don't like to see that because it will eat up some of their boat speed. They want to take the most direct line they can. You can see St George's College having a little conversation there in the boat about what they should be doing. Very hard to see who's or how much lead St George's College have got from this shot that we
not enough to be having a conversation, I don't think.
I know. Maybe they're motivating each other.
Yeah, I could see a nod of the head there from the girl in the stroke seat. But it looks to me from that camera angle that St George's have just continued to move away and probably have a bit of clear water to play with over Maidenhead. Yeah,
and it just look like Maidenhead are at a higher stroke rate still. So they're still trying hard, putting their effort in. They're not letting St George's College have it all their own way.
Yeah, we'll keep tracking that race. Number 3-1-2. St George's currently leading Maidenhead Rowing Club. We'll move back to the start. Race 3-1-3. The junior Coxed Fours. St Paul's School from the United States of America on the Berkshire station up against the St Paul's Girls Tideway Scullers School Composite firmly from the UK on the Buckinghamshire station. So this could get a bit confusing. We've got US and UK contingency, but both with the same name. So we will try and delineate for you. But at the moment, you can see there on the drone shot, St Paul's of the USA on the Berkshire station having the slightly better of the two starts out of the blocks, but only by around a canvas. So not much to choose between both of them. And you can see top right, St George's sculling down. I assume their rate is still high. The intensity is definitely still on, but I assume in the lead. And yeah, there we can see still in relative comfort there. They've just seen off the advances of Maidenhead to hopefully secure themselves a semi-final berth.
Yeah, strong finish there for St George. But what a strong start for these two crews here in the Junior Fours. Both averaging about 38 for the Chasing Composite and 35 for the St Paul's of the US. St Paul's US and St Paul's Composite with Tideway Scullers School on the right of your screen. Well, now on the left of your screen as you're just watching now. Interesting thing tonight, actually, I was watching these two crews going down with them yesterday. They've only been rowing together 2 weeks, this Composite crew, and they're keeping up with this St Paul's crew who was so strong yesterday. and they are looking very, very good. Yeah, not giving each other an inch once again. Keeping the rate high as they come past our commentary position. I'll be surprised if there's still much more than a canvas in it. And it might even just be edging ahead. Oh my goodness me, there's barely a bow ball in it, maybe even a couple of feet in it for the US proof of St Paul's. The Composite came right with them.
Yeah, US crews traditionally quite fast at the start, and that proving so here with St Paul's, who did lead in the very, very early stages, but they've been pegged back at the barrier and now face quite a challenge on their hands to try and row down the Composite from St Paul's Girls' School and the Tideway Scullers School, who of course do boat on that famous boat race championship course and will know each other very well. Interesting that they've only been rowing together 2 weeks, but I imagine they've come together in the hope that they can find some additional speed that perhaps wasn't available to them if they'd stayed with their respective clubs and schools. But St Paul's School from the USA have had a phenomenal season over in the States, winning a multitude of different medals at sort of national and regional competition. And at the moment, there's still pretty much nothing to choose between the two crews. As you can see, perhaps the Composite from Scullers, St Paul's on the Buckinghamshire station, having maybe slightly the better middle third.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, they were behind at the start, but the fact that they've pulled through just shows great character, great strength, great physicality, I suppose, as well. Interesting to know the different techniques as well. You can see the US crew sitting up quite high. The two St Paul's girls who were at the front there were in the black and whites. They crouched over, and the Tideway Scullers a little bit as well, but it's certainly working for them at the moment.
Yeah, some conflicting styles there, contrasting styles in the Composite boat. The Scullers girls perhaps rowing that boat a little bit differently to the girls from St Paul's School, but that's always going to happen in a Composite. But it seems to be working for them at the moment. It's an effective combination of styles that has led them to lead this race now. They've gone through the girls from St Paul's School of the United States of America, and by that camera angle, that is a really, really strong middle third of the race. They're out now to around a length.
It really is to row through, but even at this early stage as well, it just shows, makes it hard for, well, what a great name for a boat there, Lady 4. Whether they've got the lightning pace to go through on the final stages, I will wait and see, but it shows great character from the Composite to go through from the poor start and go all the way through, row through. And they're really doing that as they go past the Regatta enclosure towards Upper Thames, looking very strong. Interesting note as well, got two Coxes sitting at the front as well. Always a bit of a debate, always quite interesting to see two at the front eyeing each other up at the start, but always shows a great advantage for the Coxsmen as well when they can see everything in front of them, but not the opposition crew.
Yeah, I think the narrative of this race as it develops very much now in the hands of the girls from the United Kingdom. 4 girls, 2 from the Scullers School, 2 from St Paul's Girls' School, and although St Paul's from the USA are mounting a bit of a charge, actually the girls in the Composite from the UK being warned for their steering somewhat. They are, I think, in control of that one, so we will keep one eye on it, but also return to the start for race 314. So William Perkins on the Berkshire station, and a Composite from Glasgow Academy, Glasgow Schools on the Buckinghamshire station, so you can see out there underneath Temple Island some Scottish representation. Clean starts from both of those. Just on the top right you can see there the Paul's Girls, Tideway Scullers School, Composite crossing the line and knocking out St Paul's School from the USA, so they'll progress through to the semi-finals. And as these two crews leave Temple Island behind, it'll be interesting to see who has taken the early initiative.
Superstar. Again, we talk about contrasting styles, contrasting rates here by the looks of things. William Perkins keeping it high, going for about going quite high, about 37. But we've got a lot of length here from the Scottish Composite. Going about 33, going about 4 pips lower, but they're going for the length, they're going for the power in those early stages after going at the draw. So William Perkins staying with them though. See some power going down from the girls on both sides as they go past coming into Temple Meadows. But it is the Composite that have that early advantage, using the length, using it that early. Well, we talk about the start, something you probably see in those early stages. When you do a starting rowing, you don't start with a full stroke. You go about half, then 3/4. You build up the momentum over those 3 strokes to get to your maximum pace as quickly as possible, and then you look to maintain it by getting a rhythm within about 10 strokes. And the Coxless Composite have done it a bit quicker. They've gone to their rhythm a bit faster than this William Perkins, and it's actually giving them a bit of an advantage at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
As they come past us here in the commentary booth, you can see them keeping the length up. You can hear the cry, the shouts of the Cox, the tacticals, calls coming in soon, but it's about a third of a length and maybe actually even growing for William Perkins. They found their rhythm now. They're the ones that may just be starting to come back up as they finish this first third of the race. But there's a lot of power going in from that Scottish Composite.
Yeah, then the pictures do the talking here. You can see that there's very little to choose between either of those crews. Perhaps the Composite from Scotland having slightly the better of the opening third, just approaching the Regatta enclosure. The lead has seesawed a little bit. And very much still in contention. We've seen a couple of races this morning which have been decided in the early stages, but that isn't the case for this particular contest. You can see there the bows of Sir William Perkins just pushing through on that camera angle. Now the pressure is all on the Glasgow Academy, Glasgow Schools Composite. Can they continue to hold off the sustained attack from Sir William Perkins, who I'm sure will be thinking about mounting a last-ditch charge as they make their way down the course?
Well, it may be coming soon. You can see the strain on the faces. Saw it, this William Perkins number 2 girl. Seeing the strain on the face. They're also in the Scottish Composite as well, but they are maintaining this long, strong and more slower rhythm compared to their competitors, but it's still very high. It's very deceptive when you're watching row, and it can look, well, that's the amazing thing about these junior girls. They can make it look so easy as well, but they are really putting in the effort here and now going hammer and nail at this race, and they're just powering down with the legs, sending it away with the backs, drawing out the finishes with the arms. But you can see the bows there. It's almost a bit of a cat and mouse here, you could argue. Will Sir William Perkins put that push in? We can see the calls, see the grunts and the energy and power going in. But we'll see what happens in this final third. It's going to be an interesting end.
So, race 3-1-4 making its way down the course. We will keep an eye on how the Scots do in fending off the pressure from Sir William Perkins. But Henley Rowing Club and Canford School now on the course. Race 3-1-5, Henley on the Berkshire station, Canford School on the Buckinghamshire station. And although that tree is somewhat giving me trouble in calling this one, I would imagine that Henley indeed, Henley leading this one by about half a length at this stage. These, I think, are athletes 5, 6, 7 and 8 from Henley's Championship Girls Silver Medalist crew. So 4 very capable athletes, and proving that as they come down towards the quarter-mile mark.
Great finish there on the top of your picture from the Scottish Composite of Glasgow Academy, Glasgow Schools, St Andrew over William Perkins. Really composed throughout the race. Here we go, back to the top of the course. It's Henley keeping the rate high. You can see Canford School there coming through. Can talk with a bit of experience about Canford, having learnt the trade there at school. There's an interesting course that they row down there. It's down on the River Stour, about 1.6 kilometres in total that they have, and it's very bendy, so it's very hard to get any straight practice done. So the fact that they're here in the quarterfinals on this course, credit to them. But you can see Henley, of course, row here all the time, really taking command here. But Canford staying in touch in these early stages, both staying on their sides at the moment. And you can see from the drone picture there, probably just about stretching to a length as they come past. Might just be getting a little bit of clear water there, Henley, as they come past us. We'll have a look at these straight rates as well. but it's a very strong ribbon there, about 35 from the Henley girls. And Canford keeping it up at 38, trying to keep the race up. It's just whether they've got the power to compare to the Henley girls at the moment. Still early days as they come past us in the commentary booth.
I think Henley looking more fluid actually than the girls from Canford, just passing the barrier. Looking a little bit more dynamic around either end of the stroke. Of course, they won Championship Girls Coxless Fours at the National Schools Regatta, having split their 8 in half on the Sunday of that event. And now on their way down towards the enclosures, I think Henley have this one in hand. They've just slowly edged away from Canford, who are not a bad for themselves at all, rowing really, really well actually, it has to be said. But Henley just look a class apart at this stage.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the times from yesterday, actually, both won by about 2 lengths, quarter of a length. Henley doing about a time of 5 minutes 39 yesterday. Canford doing 5:49, about 10-second difference. Both having to push themselves to get to this quarter-final stage. But you can see the difference here between Henley and Canford. Canford, of course, been also splitting. Speaking to the coach, Ian Dryden, yesterday, looks like they've had about 8 girls in there, and they split them up to do this as well. But these are the top 4 girls in the girls' squad that we're seeing here, but differences in class at the moment. But even no consistency, but Henley leading this one from first stroke. It's going to take a lot to lead to the end, but as we start the next race, which is race 316, Marion Mercy Academy USA on the near side of your picture, Berkshire. Kingston in the resplendent red and white striped kit on the Buckinghamshire side.
Yeah, certainly one of the domestic favourites, Kingston. Their junior squad just seems to get better and better every year, and they're not a bad senior squad either. They regularly boat good crews. In the club events at Henley Royal, and this junior outfit from Kingston have swept all before them pretty much all year. They tend to win everything that they enter, and they were very strong at junior 16 level as well, and actually really, really looking quite powerful as they come out from behind Temple Island, just catching the boat out front and levering it away. And I think they've already got a bit of an advantage over Marion Mercy Academy from the United States of America. You can see there the shot of Henley just making their way down the course on the top right hand side of your screen. I think they've got their quarterfinal in hand, race 315. This on the bottom left is your final quarterfinal of the junior Coxed Fours, and it's Kingston up against Marion Mercy. And at the moment, Kingston with their red blades and the Buckinghamshire station having the better of the opening sort of 20 to 30 strokes.
They are. It's about pipping the rate a couple of higher, about 38 for the Kingston girls, 36 for the US girls, Marion Mercy. Seeing different Canford Henley there at the top. Canford pushing all the way, as we were always told to do. All the cries still ringing in my ears, I think, from my time there. But putting in a good effort, but Henley winning that one there, as we see. But we return to the bottom left of your picture. Still Kingston pushing away first at National Schools Regatta. But still strong competition though from the girls at Marion Mercy. 4th time competing at Henley Women's Regatta. In the lightweight 4 at the School National Championships. They've got 4 other wins this year over across the pond. But Kingston just asserting their authority in these first third, holding a 3/4 length lead. Loving the unity from the Marion girls on the ponytail ties as well. Always have a bit of unity, both in the water and in the boat.
Yeah, coached by Florence Griffiths, this Kingston crew. They're winners of the Junior 16 Coxed Fours at Henley Women's Regatta last season, and they've got 6 national schools medals between them across a variety of different events. So 4 very well, or even 5 very, very well established athletes who know what it takes to win at the highest level, and showing that here as they continue to lead Marion Mercy Academy, who are reasonably regular visitors to Henley Women's actually. Winners of the Groton Cup in 2011. It was the last time they managed to take home any silverware with them. They'll be hoping to do the same this year, but alas, at the moment, not having much luck in getting past the might of Kingston.
Yeah, Kingston, another crew that is blessed with a large stretch of water on the Thames down around the U-Bend, which ends at Hampton. And they stretch around there, long stretch of river to practice on. They're using that composure, unity in visors as well. Visors versus ponytail bums, whatever those are called. But yeah, this is Kingston leading the way still, looking strong. They're really smashing those finishes out, aren't they? It's another thing we see. It's all these little differences as well with rowing. Some people might argue, oh, just going up and down, but actually there are so many little intricacies in rowing that are different. It's how you take the catch, it's how fast you move up the side, how you take the finish, how much time you take there. You can see the difference here. Like the Kingston crew really smashing the finishes out, and they're going fast to the catch as well. It means that I suppose as little time in the water as possible, but it means that getting as much time keeping that boat speed up as possible. Means that they're leaving the water at the fastest possible point and getting there at the fastest possible time as well.
That's all above my head. All I know is Kingston are moving fast at the moment. And they're leading Marion Mercy. And continuing to lead them and continuing to stretch away, actually. I think this is quite a mature row from Kingston. They won't want to expend any more energy than is strictly necessary. Of course, these girls actually have, if Kingston want to make the final of their event, they have at least 2 more races to go today, including a final. And each race, of course, expected to get harder because you're facing competition who have also made it through the rounds that you've managed to navigate. Marion Mercy, they're all the way across from the United States of America. They will not be keen to go home any earlier than is strictly necessary, of course, although it is nice to enjoy Henley Town on a Sunday afternoon. You'll want to be doing it from a winning position. But they need to mount some sort of very impressive last comeback here, because Kingston look like they have this one in hand.
They do. I mean, they're certainly trying their best. Marion Mercy are up rate 36, but this Kingston crew looking so composed. They're sitting at rate 32, putting everything together in time. Seeing this race from start to finish. Maybe a bit shaky at the start, but they are seeing it out to the finish here as we move on to the next event, which I believe is our first semi-final of the day.
Yeah, Championship Lightweight Single Sculls, Perry of Thames and Pillman of KRSG making their way down the course. You just see there Kingston crossing the line safely ahead of Marion Mercy. They'll progress through to the semi-finals of the Junior Coxed 4, but we move on as I